Pavoyervi, Sibelius Cycle, 7 Symphonies, Orchestre de Paris. One of my favorite discs. Sibelius Fourth. I like the Sibelius Fourth. Just wanted to mention very quickly that a lot of people come at me on Instagram or wherever, and they're like, hey man, what goes around comes around. Karma. You're a hater. You shoveled so much hate on Trump, and now you and people that I love are getting it. Yeah, man. Of course, it's always the same. Go to their profile. Jesus. A quote from Proverbs. Support the troops. Support law enforcement. Christ is love. And Alec, Baldwin, I hope you die. Let me just say quickly that the force that you meet hatred with often resembles hatred. A similar situation is if a guy's got a gun and he's sticking up a liquor store and the cops go in and they shoot the guy. And that's violent, that's awful, that's something you want to avoid. I don't want to get into comments about trigger-happy cops and so forth, but that's something that everybody, I think, wants to avoid. However, deadly force is necessary in those things to save other people's lives. I find a correlation there with Trump. I do not hate Trump. I don't. I view Trump as a dumb, blind, wounded animal. I view Trump as a dumb, blind creature who's not smart enough to figure out anything. He's just kind of bullshit his way and bribed his way and lied his way through most of his life and got away with it. But I don't hate Trump. But like many people, I view Trump as someone who was inconceivably, incalculably unprepared and unfit for the office of President of the United States, because the President should be an exceptional man or woman. Now, have we had people who came into the White House who were not exceptional people? Sure. This is our 46th president, and of all 46 men, it's only been men who've occupied that office. A handful of them have been unfortunate mistakes that were made by the American people. But at the same time, one of the other issues is that, what happens to the person in the job. Nixon was a spectacularly bright guy. Nixon was a super smart guy. And Nixon did a few things in governance when he was in power, when he was finally the president, that were kind of cool. The EPA, the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, programs that, I'm going to lower the Orchestre de Paris a little bit here. Nixon was a bright guy. But what happened to him once he was in power? What happened to Nixon once he was in power? Did he grow inside the job? Did it help him to become a more self-actualized human being? Certainly not. He used it for recrimination and retribution and vengeance. I mean, he brought a very small and very weak, ultimately, perspective to the presidency, which should be this, what a miraculous opportunity to change people's lives. I used to want to run for president. I used to want to be the president so I could help people and change their lives and use the might, use the power of the American government and all of its money and all of its resources and the commitment. How many people come to Washington for an administration who want to work there and be a part of that experience? They're not getting paid a lot of money. Maybe when they leave Washington, they get paid a lot of money, but when they're there in Washington, they don't make a lot of money. And they want to be a part of that cause, that calling. I don't hate Trump. I don't. Are there people that I hate? Yeah, you show me a documentary about a guy that, kidnapped and raped young girls in the basement of his house for 10 years. I'm like, yeah. I have some very strong feelings about that kind of person. And that's human nature. That outrage triggers something that smells like hate, But I don't hate Trump. I'm beyond elated that he's gone. And he is gone. And hope never to return. Because, the Republican Party, they have a real opportunity here. Because Biden and this crowd that's in there now, they're going to have a tough time. Trump made sure he smashed all the furniture. He smashed all the dishes. The place, Washington, the government, the whole thing is a mess. It's like you took a huge computer system and ripped out all the wiring and stomped on all the computer chips and the motherboard. I don't know a lot about technology, so I'm just using the phrases that I know. The motherboard. I love that. My computer guy would say to me, well, I need to take a look at your motherboard. I was like, hey, man. What does that mean? Sorry. Trump. Just incredible. Never thought one person and all of his sick minions could do that much damage to this country. And people sit there and say, yeah, the word for the COVID. Its policies were great. I don't agree with that. Putting kids in cages. Talking about caring for children and helping children grow. Creating a world where children can feel safe and cared for. You have an administration that said, let's put them in cages. But anyway, all of that in the past aside, because I don't want to stay in that place today. I don't hate Trump. But like the person who says, deadly force is necessary and justified to stop something horrible from happening, something horrible from taking place or playing out in our society, the same was true with Trump. We needed to use political deadly force to get rid of Trump. Because he was a maniac. Bannon, Trump, their supporters in media. News Corp. The good news with some of that crowd is, the people who run News Corp, one person in particular, he's an old man. He's a really, really old man, a rotten, broken down, racist, hate-filled old man. And he's not going to be around much longer. That's pretty clear. Even though these guys, once they hit that crest where they're in the billionaire club where they got all that money and influence and everyone kowtows to them at the Time 100 dinner or whatever the fuck it is, they don't want it to end. They're like, oh man, I'm not done. I need another 20, 25 years to play out all my dreams. Well, that's not likely to happen. It's not likely to happen. People around Trump who are responsible for Trump, let them fall away and let their careers and their influence die so we can save the country. The COVID, we should all be vaccinated by the end of March. The whole fucking country should be vaccinated by the end of March. Everybody. 2 shots, 1 shot, 6 shots, 4 ball in the corner pocket. Who fucking cares? It should be done by the end of March. But I'm going to stop there. And I'm angry about these media outlets because someone near and dear to me, of course, who is going to address their own problems and social media, they're going to address it themselves. A very mature, responsible individual who I care about deeply, who a lot was said about them that is not true. Not true. But having been there before where you are the shuttlecock for media, I was really surprised. I have no expectation of like the Post and Fox and all those psychotics over there. But I was taken aback by some people on social media who were women, who didn't bother to want to find out anything. They just regurgitated. They just echoed all the false statements that were made. But someone I know and love is going to address that soon. But remember that it's not about hate. I do not hate Trump. In fact, the last couple of days, I barely think about him at all. I barely think about him at all. But the force that meets something that ugly, that hateful, that monstrous, is a force that looks like hate, but it's not hate. It's not hate. It's justice.